Hey guys and girls, welcome back. I hope you're all having a wonderful day. So to pick up from where we last left off, I'd like to talk about NASA's recent video where they announced they're going back to the moon.
American exploration, returning to the moon to stay, so we can go beyond.
This is very exciting as it shows there is a bigger enthusiasm to get back into space and to more actively explore our solar system. And with the signing of Space Policy Directive 1 in 2017 by Donald Trump, the goal to further explore the moon and Mars has put back on the table in much bigger scale. Now, NASA hasn't stopped going to the moon. They have simply not put astronauts on the lunar surface for an extended amount of time. However, they have still performed scientific robot missions on the moon, such as Lunar's Prospector, Grail, and L-Cross. The interest in the moon is still growing worldwide, and I think it's time to build upon the foundations that the Apollo missions laid. The new policy has set a goal of establishing a long-term presence in orbit around the moon and on the lunar surface. The first lunar mission is already to be carried out in 2020 by the European-American spacecraft Orion, which will test the reliability of the SLS rocket and of course the Orion spacecraft. The first mission that will carry humans back into lunar orbit is to be 3 years later in 2023, also with an Orion spacecraft to further test its reliability. NASA will also set up a human tenet station that will orbit the moon and serve as a transit point to and from the lunar surface and Mars. This station will take the name of Lunar Orbital Platform Gateway. This is to be a joint program with Roscosmos, as the Roscosmos chief Igor Komarov has already signed a deal to set up a joint construction of the Gateway station with NASA, and they could provide as many as 3 of the Gateway's modules. The first element is targeted to be launched in 3 years from the making of this video in 2022, and the 2 first modules are already under construction as of right now when you're watching this video. The Gateway station will actually be a temporary home and office for astronauts around 402,000 kilometers from Earth, which will be about a 5-day trip. And the Gateway is said to have living quarters, laboratories for science and research, and of course a docking port, which will allow for spacecraft and for setting up a lunar lander so people can go up from the surface of the moon and down again. The Gateway will serve as the next base for human expeditions on the moon and preparing astronauts for Mars. The living quarters is sadly only about the size of a studio apartment, meaning that astronauts won't stay there year-round, only a few times a year. However, the amazing thing about the Gateway is that it doesn't actually have to stay in orbit around the moon permanently. If we want to do human missions on another planet, then it's entirely possible to move it wherever we like. So if we, for example, want to start a colony on Jupiter, we have the possibility to move the Gateway into orbit around Jupiter. And there we can easily transit humans into the Jupiter atmosphere and back, just like on the moon. This means that the Gateway will almost be a sort of mobile base camp, which will let us expand our scope and reduce the risks of doing human missions anywhere in our solar system. Whilst the Gateway is being built, we will see a big boost in the number of robotic missions on the surface of the moon. Many of these missions are of course to be centered around testing new technologies and acquiring new samples of unexplored lunar land. These robotic missions will also make us ready for human exploration of our moon, Mars, and deeper into our solar system, as they will map the surface of the moon. After the completion of the Gateway, we will easily be able to transit humans onto the moon with advanced landers, which are to be expected to be operational by 2028. NASA has also launched a program where industrial companies can bid on delivering technology and science payloads to the moon, of course for NASA, of which the goal is to establish a sustainable presence on the moon. These payloads will contain robots, which will analyze water deposits and volatiles from the surface. Now, this is very interesting because this water could potentially be turned into rocket fuel, which then again could be used in setting up a fuel deposit on the moon. This would give us many advantages, as it would present us with the possibility to venture further out in our solar system than ever before. A rocket facility on the moon would not only let us refuel rockets on the moon, but it would actually provide us with a reason to further industrialize our moon, as it could turn out to be a much better place to launch rockets from, given the low gravity that is on the moon. Of course, we would need the minerals, but the moon already has what we need. If we'd want to produce rockets even cheaper, we could do it in lunar orbit, where there would be zero gravity. We could build a space yard in orbit around the moon and then have the minerals shipped up for lunar mines with a space elevator. Now, this is of course for the future, but just finding potential ice water will give us big possibilities. The Gateway station is set to be done as soon as in 2026. Of course, there will most likely be delays, as there are with any big operations. But even then, 7 years or more isn't that long.